Recording. 3, 2, 1. Stream. Hi everyone. I'm sorry about that rather difficult start. It would appear that my sound was not properly set for OBS. So once more, this is Batman Athenaeum Episode 5: Those Who Wander. This time hosted by Night Kiwi, Will Rasbold, voice actor Alfred. So, let's go ahead and get started with introducing everyone. Unfortunately, Lucia couldn't make it to host this time or to do a voice. She's come down rather sick, and her voice is one thing that's been affected this last time. But she is with us in spirit, and we are glad to go through and continue this production to make sure that she has something that she can be proud of while she's working through her illness. But let's go ahead and get started with the introductions. First things first, I'm Dylan Rasbold. I will be playing Alfred.
My name is Carl G. Brooks, and I'll be voicing young Bruce Wayne.
My name is James Riley, and I'm going to be voicing Thomas Wayne in a flashback sequence.
My name is Sophie Baker, and I'm going to be voicing Ra's al Ghul.
I'm Sword of Destiny, and I will be narrating.
I'm Cloudy, and I do extras.
My name's John, and I'll be voicing David Cain.
I wish we had kept that first take.
Damn right you would. All right, perfect. Sorry about that little bit of complication earlier, but we're glad to get started. And without further ado, unless anyone else has anything they'd like to bring up, shall we get started?
Let's
do this.
All right.
Batman Episode 5, Those Who Wander, by Lucia, Lobosvilla, based on the works of Bill Finger and Bob Kane. Exterior rural area. Train tracks. A train drives by. David Cain and Bruce Wayne jump off the moving train, each holding only a duffel bag. They roll as they hit the grass, break their fall. Cain immediately rolls to his feet and gets up easily. He's had practice with this. Bruce falls harder and clutches his knee. Bruce looks scruffy, having even grown some stubble. Cain offers Bruce a hand.
On your feet.
Bruce takes Cain's hand and stands.
I banged my knee something fierce.
Walk it off. We have to keep moving.
Cain slaps Bruce on the back, and the two men walk on towards a rest stop. 2. Exterior rundown motel. Bruce waits outside the front office. He looks inside, where Cain is checking them in. Bruce's stomach rumbles. Bruce holds his stomach, looking around. He sees a vending machine and goes over to it. Bruce reaches into his duffel bag looking for some money. He finds some bills at the bottom of his bag, but also finds an envelope addressed to him. Bruce looks at it curiously. Cain comes up behind him.
We're checked in.
Bruce startles and shoves the envelope back into his duffel bag, then stands.
Great, I'm beat.
What do you have there?
Nothing. Few dollar bills. I was going to get something from the vending machine.
Save your cash. Here.
Cain tosses Bruce a room key. Bruce catches it. It has their room number emblazoned on it. Number 204. Interior motel, room 204, main area. Bruce and Cain unlock the door and go inside, shutting the door behind them. Bruce tosses his duffel bag to the ground and flops on the bed, exhausted, as Cain puts his things in.
I don't understand why we can't just take a flight straight over there. I can afford it.
Flights leave records. We need to pass undetected.
You got that squid monster out of your mouth?
Mm-hmm.
That's very hygienic. Good man. Okay, is that why we're jumping trains and avoiding civilization?
Consider it part of your training.
Bruce's stomach growls, and Bruce groans.
Can't handle your hunger, can you?
I haven't eaten anything since yesterday.
You're still growing. I'll find us food. You stay here and don't let anyone see you.
David Cain leaves. Bruce sits up in bed, sighing. He looks around. Interior motel room 204, bathroom. Bruce goes over to the sink with his bag. Bruce pulls a razor and shaving cream out of his bag. Tries to turn on the water. Pipes squeal, but nothing comes out. The sink itself is disgusting and grimy. Bruce groans and gives up, tossing his razor in the sink. Sits on the bathroom floor, holding his knees to his chest, distressed. He looks up at his duffel bag and reaches inside, pulling out the envelope addressed. Bruce reaches up and locks the door, then sits on the edge of the tub and rips the envelope open. He removes the letter inside and begins to read it.
My dear Master Bruce, if you found this letter, then my worst fears come to pass. Despite my best efforts to dissuade you, you've left with David Cain. This missive is my Hail Mary, a final, desperate attempt to bring you back, brink, where you can cross the Rubicon and cannot return. I do not know where to begin, but, as I've often taught you, when one does not know where to begin, it is well advised to go back to the beginning.
Exterior London streets, 1928. The streets of London in 1928 are bustling with streetcars and old black vehicles. People hurry along the streets, going about their business.
It must be difficult to envision I was ever your age, but through the fog of the ages, I remember it fondly even now. I had still lived in the city of my birth, London, England. I turned 18 in 1928.
Motel room 204, bathroom. Bruce makes a skeptical face at the letter.
That's impossible. That would mean Alfred was born...
Indeed. I was born the year of our Lord, 1910.
A bang on the door.
Out, before it gets cold.
Coming!
Bruce folds up the letter and puts it away in his coat. He stands and opens the door.
The water doesn't work.
That's why we prepare.
Cain hands Bruce a bottle of water. Bruce takes it and nods.
Thank you, Sifu.
Motel room 204, main area. We can see through the windows that it's night now. Cain sits on his bed and eats out of the takeout container. Bruce goes over and sits on his bed, grabbing his takeout container and digging in hungrily.
Hindsight is cruel in its clarity. Looking back, the prosperity in the air was thick and oppressive, like the calm before a terrible storm.
Interior motel room 204. Dawn. Bruce sleeps in his bed. The front door handle jiggles a bit, and then clicks. Then slowly the door opens, as silently as possible. An assassin clad in black, and wearing goggles to obscure their eyes, as this is a tower, creeps in and sneaks over to Bruce's bedside. The assassin pulls out a sword and brings it to Bruce's throat. Suddenly, a knife shoots out and hits the assassin in the throat, throwing them back against the wall. Bruce wakes up from the sound of the slam against the wall.
Gah!
The assassin clutches their bleeding throat as they slide down to the floor, gurgling. Bruce looks over to Cain's bed. Cain is sitting up in bed, holding another knife if need be. He stands, grabbing his things.
We've been found. We need to go. Now!
Bruce nods and throws the sheets off of himself. Exterior rural area? Train tracks. Cain and Bruce walk along the tracks, holding their duffel bags. Bruce rubs the sleep out of his eyes and yawns.
Keep it together, Bruce. Overcome the wall of human weakness. You must achieve peak physical condition if you are to catch the interest of the head of the demon.
Who was that?
Bruce
Why do they
nods.
want... Yes. Who was that? Why do they want to kill me?
Don't take it personally. It's only business. There are those that would foolishly seek to oppose the demon's head and prevent his influence from spreading to Gotham. You threaten them.
Because I'm a Wayne?
Let it not be said you aren't clever.
Cain pulls him off the tracks as the train comes.
Here it comes.
The train comes. David, Cain, and Bruce jump on. Bruce almost falls off. Cain grabs his arm and helps pull him in. Interior train car. Cargo hold. Cain and Bruce sneak in. Bruce rolls his shoulder.
I think you tweaked my shoulder back there.
Wait here.
Where are you going?
The passenger cart.
Without me?
You attract far too much attention with your whining. Until you can learn to carry yourself, you wait in the cargo hold.
Cain leaves. Bruce Gosson sits down on the crate, pouting. Recognizing he's alone, however, he pulls out the letter to read some more.
I was scarcely in my second decade and already working as a codebreaker in Her Majesty's army. The Great War had taken many men, that left the country of vacant positions to be filled. Perhaps that is why I rose rank so quickly and attracted the attention of the Secret Intelligence Service.
Alfred worked for MI6?
Interior train cart in the desert. 1934. Young Alfred sits at a passenger table, going over notes and ciphers, jotting things down in a notebook as he tries to solve them.
The Crown had been tracking a terrorist cell that sought to disband the Empire. They operated from the Arabian Peninsula to Northern Africa to South Asia, so impossibly well connected with seemingly endless resources, and yet left no trace. As if they were living shadows. Platoons sent to flush them out either never found them, never returned. And so the government decided on a more deft approach. They sent me as a codebreaker and interpreter to perform reconnaissance. Not to engage, but to find all the information I could as their whereabouts, their leader, and their secret communications.
We see across from Alfred a young David Cain. He has his gun disassembled and is currently cleaning it out.
For my protection, they sent only one man, an American Marine by the name of David Cain. He was a charming, dangerous man. I will confess, I idolized him.
Cain sees Alfred staring and grins. Cain reaches into his pocket and pulls out a deck of cards, waving it. Alfred smiles, and Cain starts dealing the cards.
He told me war stories and told me to play every game one could play with a deck of cards, and then some. He was a man of action.
Suddenly, a man grabs Alfred by the collar and hoists him up, pointing a gun to his throat. A playing card flies through the air and gets wedged in the gun. The man drops Alfred, looking at his gun in shock, and then at David Cain. Cain uses that distraction to buy time to put his gun back together. He's just finished and points it at the assailant. The man puts his gun down on the table and his hands up. Cain stands and backs the man up to the door. Then Cain opens the door and kicks the man out of the moving train. Cain then shuts the door and returns to his seat to play cards.
I trusted him with my life.
Interior train cart. Cargo hold. Bruce nods at the letter.
I know the feeling.
The lock on the door makes a sound as if someone is opening it. Bruce hurriedly folds the letter up, tucking it away, and hides behind some crates. David Cain enters, shutting the door behind him.
Good. You're alert. Staying out of sight. Much better.
Cain puts a tray of food down on a crate for Bruce.
First class for the little Lord Fauntleroy, so far from home.
Bruce comes out of his hiding spot behind some crates.
Harsh words, Sifu. Even in your praise, you remind me not to get too comfortable.
Comfort makes us weak and lazy. Danger is what keeps us sharp. Now eat. I don't want your stomach rumbling at our next stop.
Sifu, how long did you know Alfred?
Why are you asking now, all of a sudden?
Bruce shrugs.
Got curious.
Well, keep it to yourself. Don't you know the saying?
Curiosity killed the cat.
Don't forget it.
Cain leaves, shutting the door behind him. Bruce sighs and sits to eat.
I would have been content to travel the world this way forever. Young, strong, adventurous, with a devoted friend and bodyguard and sharing my safety. Alas, all things, good and bad, must to an end.
Exterior docks. Bruce waits while Cain talks to a commercial fisherman. Cain then walks over to Bruce.
A ship? Seriously?
A fishing vessel. They've agreed to grant us passage across the Atlantic in exchange for our labor.
But boats are slow, right? I mean, won't it take weeks or even months?
It will take as long as it takes.
And we have to work the whole time?
No, you have to work the whole time, from dawn to dusk.
Hey, that's not fair.
When did I ever say things would be fair?
Bruce groans.
Are you sure we just can't charter a plane?
You can do as you please if you want those assassins to have their way. If you prefer to live, then do as I say.
That's not much of a choice.
Consider it part of your training. Teach a spoiled heir how to fish, and he'll never go hungry, even if he loses his fortune. Now, let's go. They're waiting.
Bruce throws a silent little tantrum, but then grabs his things and follows Cain onto the ship.
We were in Cairo when it happened. You may recall from your studies, Sir Bruce. That's in Egypt.
Cairo, Egypt. A vacant road. 1935. A guy drives an old car through an empty road. With him are Cain and Alfred.
I'd picked up some chatter and felt we were getting close. We hired a local guide to provide us direction and transportation. Cain kept us safe.
Cain looks out the window, holding a gun, ready to shoot anyone who looks like they may be following.
While I continued my work.
Alfred flips through the notes in his journal, putting a pen to his mouth to think, and then scribbling some things down.
We were cutting it close. We were strictly forbidden from engaging the enemy. We were only to observe and document all we could. Like Icarus, the allure of new heights was intoxicating.
From a distance away, we see a figure. They're holding a bazooka. They fire at the car. The car is hit. The impact and subsequent explosion sends it flying. The car tumbles and Alfred blacks out. Exterior Cairo, Egypt. A vacant road. Alfred comes to, ears ringing and eyes struggling to focus. He's lying in the dirt, a ways from. He finally manages to focus and sees the car a few feet away, burning.
To this day, I don't know how I was thrown clear.
Alfred scrambles to his feet and hurries over the car. But once he gets close, it goes up like a fireball, and Alfred has to step back and shield his face.
It seemed I was the only survivor.
Alfred looks around, completely lost. Falls to his knees, holding himself, and weeps.
My notes, gagged. My friends, all perished. I returned to London a failure, at such a tremendous cost.
Interior fishing ship, Bruce quarter, night. Bruce lies in his bunk, reading the letter with a small flashlight in his mouth to illuminate it. Bruce gets up to that stopping point, feeling melancholy, and folds the letter up, tucking it away. Bruce turns off the flashlight and... Interior fishing ship, on deck. Bruce goes over to the edge and looks out at the sea, at the horizon. Nothing but water for miles. The moon is large and bright. Looks down at his own hands, calloused and bloody from never having done labor before now. Cain makes his presence known behind Bruce, slinking out of the shadows.
You should rest, or you'll tire out working tomorrow.
I tried. Can't sleep.
Cain comes to stand beside Bruce.
You're having doubts.
No, actually. I'm confident in my choice.
Then what is it that's been weighing on your mind lately?
It's Alfred. He practically raised me all on his own. He took care of me longer than my own parents did. And yet, I started to realize I didn't know anything about him. Not really.
None of us really know anyone, Bruce. Just as no one truly ever knows us. That's humanity's curse. We long for connection, for understanding, but we can never have it. No matter how hard we strive for it, every man is an island, adrift in the sea.
Ugh, that's a dark thought.
The world is a dark place. All we can do is fight against those that seek to plunge it into hell, to feed their own twisted, lonely appetites.
And that's what this demon's head wants to do?
It's what he has done for a long, long time.
He opposed the British Empire, didn't he? He sought independence for the colonies.
Cain looks at Bruce, surprised.
It was before my time. I can only confirm that the stories agree with you.
In the end, it was 2 horrible, bloody wars that ended it instead. That must have given him mixed feelings.
Don't make assumption. Don't make such assumptions. Operate based on what you know.
What do I know, Sifu?
Bruce looks at Cain, lost.
You said it yourself. I don't really know you either.
Cain chuckles and puts a hand on Bruce's head.
You don't need to, kid. You know yourself. Trust your own instincts. They won't lie to you.
Bruce looks at Cain gratefully, and Cain lowers his hand. The 2 men look out at the sea once more.
Take the day off. Sleep off this melancholy. I'll tell the captain you're feeling sick.
Thank you, Sifu.
Exterior, World War II battlefield, 1942. Gunshots, grenades, explosions. 2 sides attack each other from their trenches. Alfred is among them.
The depression never left me. In ever-present fog, I could only bury it in brandy for so long.
Alfred peeks over the trench to fire a few shots, then ducks back down.
It was adrenaline I craved. I was a soldier. It was the only way I knew how to make myself useful, and the horrors of the world were all too happy to oblige me.
Alfred suddenly jumps up and goes for a charge through no man's land. He's doing great for a while. He's almost there. But his luck runs out and he's riddled with bullets and collapses.
It should have been the end of me, as it was for so many less fortunate young men.
Exterior, some distance from the battlefield. Alfred comes to and feels himself being dragged along the dirt and mud.
But the devil seemed had other.
The person dragging Alfred kneels beside him. Alfred wheezes, unable to see clearly or make out what he's looking at. The person shushes him and feeds him a glowing green drink from a small glass vial. Alfred suddenly inhales sharply, loudly.
The moment that curious salve hit my tongue, it was as if every fibre of my being had been lit aflame, down to my bones, to my clattering teeth, down to my soul. I burned. Every muscle, every sinew, every cell. A radiant burst of blinding agony, and then strength. I was revitalized. No, I was reborn.
Alfred sits up, coughing, his wounds mended. Looking a few years younger. The person is David Cain, and he rubs Alfred's back.
You're all right. Just breathe. The first time is always the hardest, but the worst is already done.
Alfred looks up at him, in shock.
David Cain, but you're dead.
Not quite yet, friend.
How is it possible? You haven't aged a day.
You're looking pretty good yourself, there.
Cain holds up a pocket mirror. Alfred looks at himself in disbelief. His graying hair is full and dark again.
I don't understand.
I know. It's a shock. Let me explain.
Cain stands, offering Alfred a hand and helps him to his feet.
I was sent to bring you back from the brink of death, just as I was brought back in Cairo.
You've been alive this entire time. Why did you never tell me?
I had work to do. for him,
Who?
the head of the demon.
Alfred's eyes widened in shock.
Then he's real.
More than real. He's the answer, Al. This world is a pit of debauchery and wickedness. My master seeks to rescue humanity from itself. He's tasked me with finding him the right sort of people to aid him in his crusade.
Are you out of your mind? He's the monster we were trying to stop.
They sent us to stop him because they fear him. But it won't work. He can't be stopped. He can't be killed.
David.
Join us, Alfred. Your skills would be much better spent with the demon's head than here, in just another meaningless squabble for power among mortals.
I am ashamed to admit, even after all these years, that I was charmed by the idea. The horrors of the Second World War had shown me the very worst in humanity. The opportunity to work outside of the bloodthirsty governments of the world, serve a freedom fighter, striving for peace. But how? The entire world is burning because of this war. How can the demon's head accomplish anything in such conditions?
Don't be naive. This war is the accomplishment.
Then suddenly, I understood.
Individual raids, bombings, derailed trains, and destroyed government buildings. It isn't enough anymore. The world is growing increasingly connected, and technology is spiraling out of control in the hands of those unfit to wield so much as a sharp rock. But this forced change, didn't it? Just like the one before it.
No. He was the devil's messenger.
It was masterful manipulation, and the leaders of the world, all too eager to test their new toys of war, snapped up the bait without question. The demon's head wins again.
Monster, have you no loyalty at all? I see now. I understand. You made a Faustian bargain to cheat death years ago, and it cost you your soul.
You Brits are so dramatic. No wonder you gave us Shakespeare.
Dramatic we may be, but we also possess something you Americans have never understood.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Fealty! God save the Queen!
Alfred swings at Cain, but he catches Alfred's fist, squeezing it. Alfred squirms in pain, trying to free his hand, but he can't. Cain glares at him darkly. Alfred slowly sinks to his knees in pain.
If that is your answer, so be it. I believe every man should make his own choice.
Cain pulls out the vial of Lazarus and tucks it into Alfred's shirt pocket.
Here, consider it a gift, should you ever see reason.
Cain drops Alfred's hand. Alfred grimaces in relief, clutching his broken hand. Cain turns and walks away.
I did not see him again. Not until your 13th birthday.
Exterior foreign docks. Morning. Bruce and Cain disembark the ship.
You can do it, Cloudy. Say something foreign.
I actually don't know. I don't really know any foreign languages enough to come up with something. So
가요! 땡기요! 호이요가!
Just say, guaylo. There you go.
Well, you already just said it.
Then laugh after you say it.
A dude has to say it. It's a guy.
My voice is too feminine, though. Hold
Why
on
are we
a
being
second.
picky about this?
It's the most important line there is in this script.
Quilo!
Okay, we get it. We're good.
Bruce looks at Cain, who waves at the captain in response.
What did he say?
He's praising your hard work and saying you're welcome to come work for free anytime.
That is so funny after saying
Bruce
Quilo.
Huh. Yeah, I bet.
Cain hands himself.
Oh wait, that was for the next episode. See, I'm feverish. This guy should have been German or Russian or something. Guido's for the when they get to
But
China.
it's so funny that he insults him.
It's just Mystique pretending to be a sea captain. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I bet.
All right, so we're at
Cain
hands him something. I think. Yeah.
Cain hands him something.
What's this?
A false passport. Memorize what it says. Don't let it out of your sight.
Bruce opens the passport and looks at his new ID.
Mateo Malone?
From this moment until we arrive before the Demon's Head, that is your name.
Bruce tucks the passport away.
Got it.
The two men start walking.
Does this mean we can actually board a train now?
Actually, yes.
Let's go!
Interior train passenger car.
That's the cue for the montage. Continue, Chris.
Bruce is sound asleep in his seat, his head against the glass. Cain checks on him, making sure he's asleep, and then gets up and leaves. Once Cain has left the cart, Bruce opens his eye. He was faking. He looks back to make sure Cain is definitely gone, and then pulls out the letter.
The experience, capping off a mountain of traumas and tragedies, only drove me further into despair. I found myself chasing every conflict I could, and my homeland could provide me no more. I left for more unstable shores.
Interior bomber plane, Korea, 1952. Alfred rides in a bomber plane.
My newly gained American citizenship allowed me to enlist, and I toured the world through their never-ending conflicts.
The plane swoops over its intended target, and Alfred lets loose the bombs, watching them fall from the skies as they set the world on fire below them.
Korea.
Exterior, Laos, battlefield, 1955. Alfred fights in Laos.
Laos.
Exterior, Lebanon, battlefield, 1958. Alfred fights in Lebanon.
Lebanon.
Interior, tank, Vietnam clearing. 1961. Alfred fights, firing from a tank.
Vietnam.
Alfred is shot in the side. He quickly retreats inside the tank. He pulls out the glowing Lazarus vial.
I feared neither death nor pain, or the demon's tonic could cure any wound, no matter how fatal.
Alfred takes a small sip, and the wound closes up. He then screams, hyped up by the Lazarus madness, and gets out of the tank, shooting like a madman.
It had come... I had come to realize that there was a cost. The miracle tonic imparted a sort of madness, and the more I imbibed, the less effective it became, the longer lasting the madness. I countered this by taking the smallest of sips as sparingly as possible. But addiction is a powerful mistress. I was becoming as addicted to the mortal peril as I was the drink.
Exterior, Vietnam, dense jungle, 1969. Alfred walks quietly through the dense foliage with the rest of his platoon.
In Vietnam, my resolve was tested. It was there that I met a skittish young medic by the name of Thomas.
A young Thomas Wayne walks beside Alfred, carrying his med pack and looking terrified for his life. Thomas trips a trap, and grenades hanging from the trees all have their pins pulled. All around the platoon, everything explodes. Alfred tackles Thomas to the ground, covering him with his body as they're bombarded. Thomas opens his eyes once the madness stops. He looks around. His entire platoon is dead. Alfred is lying on top of him. Thomas moves out from under Alfred, only to realize that Alfred's entire back had been blown clean open. Alfred's spine is exposed in places. It's all carnage. Thomas screams.
Ah!
Shh. Quiet. They'll hear you.
Thomas covers his own mouth.
You're alive?
Not for long, I'm afraid.
Thomas pulls out his med pack and starts rummaging through it desperately with trembling hands.
I knew the wounds were too severe for a simple taste of the demon's tonic. It would have taken the entire bottle to restore me, and I dreaded the insane beast it would render my mind should I attempt it. I decided then that I had lived long enough. This where I died.
Thomas finds what he's looking for and gets to work patching Alfred up.
But the angels, it seems, plans for me as well.
Interior American hospital bed. Alfred comes to, all bandaged up and hooked up to IVs. He looks around blearily. Thomas Wayne is there at his bedside, dressed not as a soldier but as a doctor. His pristine white lab coat and the glow of halogen lights behind his head give the impression that he's glowing. Thomas gently puts a hand on Alfred's shoulder.
The skittish young medic that I had given my body to save turned out to be none other than the Thomas Wayne, world-class surgeon. His genius had done the impossible. I heard them say I'll never walk again.
Thomas smirks cockily.
You let me have a word with God about that one.
Thomas pats Alfred's shoulder and then goes. Alfred watches him in awe.
It was on that day that I decided to stop. I had been staring death in the face for so long, daring God to strike me down. He had finally called my bluff, only to send me salvation. I would have been a fool to deny his offer.
Interior Seoul, Korea, apartment, 1973. Alfred, looking older as he started aging again, places the Lazarus vial in a safe, locking it up tight.
I resolved never to drink that accursed tonic again. As soon as I would walk again, I returned to Seoul and started my own security firm.
Alfred turns and looks around at his modest but nice apartment.
I expected to live a quiet life from then on, till the day I died, alone in my bed.
Interior, an SUV driving through the snowy mountains. Cain sits up front, driving. Bruce lies in the back seat, reading the last of the letter.
When your father called me and asked me for my help so many years later, I naturally came running. I owed Thomas Wayne my life, but also my immortal soul. I did not expect to meet you, or that I would be entrusted with my most important, most precious mission I ever had. To raise you. I hope I have not failed. Bruce, if you take nothing else away from the series of sordid mistakes and mysterious encounters that was my life, only this. I love you, as if you are my own son. No matter what you do, you will always have a home here. Pray you will return to it. Your butler, your guardian, your friend, Alfred Thaddeus Pennyworth.
Bruce folds up the letter and pulls out his father's lighter. Bruce burns the letter sitting up to roll down the window and throw the flaming pages out into the snow.
What was that?
Nothing, Sifu. Just the past. I'm done looking back now. I'm facing forward.
It's about time.
Exterior Saudi Arabia, an expansive desert. Cain and Bruce hike through sand until they come to a giant outcropping of stone, with a city carved into it.
Is that the lost city of Petra?
No, that's located in Jordan, and it was found long ago. It's a tourist attraction now. This is its sister city, the lost city of Hegra. Still quite lost to the public.
Wow.
Let's go.
David Cain nods and leads Bruce inside. Interior, the lost city of Hegra. Inside, the stone halls are lit by torches and candelabra.
It's so empty.
Don't be deceived. There are eyes everywhere.
Bruce nods and looks more closely as he walks. He sees them now. People hid in the shadows, in the crevices. People with covered faces carrying weapons. Cain leads Bruce deep underground until they come upon a set of double doors bearing twin dragons carved into the stone. Cain looks at Bruce.
Steel your conviction. This is the den of the demon's head. Once you enter here, there is no going back. There is only success or certain death. Are you prepared to risk it all?
Well, I've come this far already. Be ashamed to turn back now.
Cain reaches over and presses the dragon carvings in the correct place, causing them to slide away and allow the doors to open.
Then step inside.
Bruce takes a deep breath and enters. There he finds bodyguards posted on both sides of the room. A green, glowing pool in the center of the room casts an ominous light all about. And on the far end, up the stone steps, Bruce sees a man. And on the man wears a high-collared green cape gilded with elaborate gold trim. He keeps his back to them, looking instead at his jeweled throne. Cain steps forward with Bruce and kneels. Bruce sees this and kneels as well.
We have returned, O head of the demon.
The man gestures and Cain stands. Bruce starts to stand, but Cain pushes his shoulder, keeping Bruce down.
This is Bruce Wayne. He has traveled a far distance for an audience with you to pledge his life to the cause.
The man turns to face them. His eyes line dark and iris is glowing green, just like the pool of water in the room.
Show me. If you are truly devoted and even half as clever as is claimed, then you must have solved it by now. What is my name?
Bruce looks up.
Avert your eyes unless told otherwise, boy.
Raj gestures.
Let him speak.
You're the head of the demon.
Do not be reticent. Speak my name.
Your name is Raz Al Ghul.
Everyone in the room gasps. Even Cain is shocked. All but Raj, who chuckles darkly.
Pity. You were close. Listen well, now, as it shan't be repeated for you again. My name, as it has been for hundreds of years, is Ra's al Ghul.
End. All right, great job, guys. Okay.
Yay!
So
Yay!
we're gonna go through and talk amongst each other for a little bit, and then we're gonna go and start up with the next episode. So see you all in just a bit.
Aye aye.